Welcome back to another episode of the Bad Influence Podcast. I'm Jordan Banderas, and before we begin, don't forget to hit that follow, subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my episodes. So, I've noticed something recently, and I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this. But let me ask you a question. Do you think emotions are going through the roof these days? I mean, people seem to be riding a fucking never-ending roller coaster of emotions, especially the not so great ones. Where I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, road rage is getting out of hand. Like, it's pretty bad. There's been so many accidents that it's not even funny anymore. It's like people are driving on a fucking racetrack or something, and usually it's because they're running late. And then they lose their shit when things don't go their way. Like, for example, not being able to make your 45-minute drive to work in less than 15, right? Karen? And that's right. If you do this, that's gonna make you look like a Karen. And it's fucking insane. It's fucking insane that we're doing this. But you wanna know the worst part? The worst part is that this is about more than being late. It's about risking lives and traumatizing others over essentially your fault for not waking up on time, thinking that there won't be any traffic, which a lot of people do for some reason, and that the speed limit doesn't apply to you at all. I've seen it. And look, I'm not trying to shame anybody, but it's the fucking truth. And this is just one example of emotions running high, but there are so many I could choose from. I used to do this all the time when I was younger. I used to literally try to beat traffic, like do the lightning going around cars, do all that shit until I got too many tickets and almost lost my fucking license. So I had to stop because driving without a license, for me at least, is not a good idea, especially when you're an immigrant. You get sent back. But in this situation, with everything that's going on, it's hard to figure out when all of this got out of hand because the world's been through a lot in the last few years. We have been through hell. Probably you agree with that, right? But I also feel like everything that's happening, all this shit has been building up for a while. You know what I mean? It's like it was simmering just below the fucking surface, and now it's boiling over and burning everyone in its path, and nobody seems to do anything about it. Like, we're just going with our emotions, we're just fighting everyone, we're just arguing with everyone, we're getting into these accidents or fights that are literally caused by our own rage. And it's pretty intense time we're living in right now. Let's be fucking honest about that. Like, if you see the news and you believe the news, you're going to think that the world is ending. But there's always the good behind the bad. For some reason, the bad always takes over. But so I've been thinking about this for a long time. And after seeing all of this, my main worry is how we can throw a wrench into your personal and work relationships. I've seen a ton of that back in Mexico growing up. And now I realize that when you bring all these outside emotions, it becomes this colossal challenge to connect with your family, your friends, and even your partner. Because you'll either have some sort of anger or sadness due to the fact that you can't relax at all. You have to be either on the run or be protective, which is intense. So you feel like you have to be ready for anything. You have to literally look over your shoulder to make sure that you don't get attacked if the area that you live in is becoming unsafe. You have to literally think ahead. You have to literally think about survival. You're on this fight or flight mode that never ends, and that can be tiresome. Like, I grew up like that. So speaking from my own story, I can tell you that it's fucked up because in my case, growing up was a bit of a roller coaster for me. I went through something that left me with this mix of rage and sadness throughout my life. My life felt like it was all over the place and I was constantly in a rush. I had to do something all the time just to feel productive. But I would burn out so fucking bad that I would just watch TV for hours and sleep all day just to try to get some rest because I was so tired, and at the end, I wouldn't accomplish anything. And communication? Forget about it. And the reason why I say that is because I didn't know how to communicate. I couldn't communicate because I was in such a rush that anytime I would get in an argument, I would lose my shit constantly because of that, because of not being able to communicate. For me, or in this case, growing up, I was all about reaching that finish line. And back then, I thought it was all about chasing money. Now, when I look back, I've learned that it's not about money making you better. You have to push through the learning challenge to become a better version of yourself to make that fucking money. The money won't come to you. You have to make that money, and you have to learn new skills. You have to literally learn how to control yourself. Because if you're on this fight or flight mode, you're not going to be able to learn. You won't care about learning. You're just going to go through the emotions of whatever happens throughout your day. And guess what? This is why it's important. I see others going through the exact same thing. And being in an elevated emotional state can be really damaging to relationships. I know this from my own personal experience. Now, I want to ask you this because, like I say, a lot of people are going through the same thing that I went through. So I want to ask you, are you feeling like you're in the same boat right now? You're like, oh shit, I'm going through the emotions. He described me. Well, let me tell you, it will take a lot of work to stop doing this. It's not going to be easy. You'll be battling your own emotions, and it will be a tough one. You might feel like you have to quit every single time you get emotional. But this is where it gets hard. You must remind yourself that you're not helpless and can take care of your surroundings, that you can control your surroundings, you can control your reaction to everything that's going on around you. And it will be challenging, but you can do it because I did it. Here's the way that I see things from my perspective. Things are hard, right? To change in a certain way, it's fucking hard. But if someone that is an immigrant, that had to learn English, that had to go through trials and tribulations, that suffered trauma and all of this fucked up shit throughout his life, is able to change and identify what needs to change, I honestly believe that anybody else can do it. Because, to be honest, I was a lazy fuck. Like I said, I would try to do something, but at the end, I wouldn't accomplish anything because I was that lazy. And also, I was tired. So, here's how I deal with all the craziness going on in the world. First, I make sure to tune out all the noise that's beyond my control. I mean, why bother stressing over the things that I can't change, right? If it's something I can do something about, then I'll definitely put in the effort. But if not, I just fucking let it go. I'm like, whatever, I cannot change it. It's a fact of life, pretty much. Even if I fight or whatever, if I cannot change it, I just let it go. And I see people literally doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting something to change, but nothing changes. So they feel bad about themselves. They start to literally hate on themselves. So it's bad. It is pretty bad. Another thing that I do is that I avoid watching the news as much as possible. And instead, I try to watch positive stuff like documentaries, reality TV, if it's inspiring, anime, or anything that helps me relax or learn something new, like books. I love to read. I love to read history. I love to read science fiction. I love to read all these things about psychology, about how the brain works, about emotions, all of that. Now, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to come, and I've talked about other things you can try in my previous episodes. But if you're willing to try it, start with this step, the one that I just mentioned, because emotions can be addicting. And we keep wanting to feel them because of a memory behind them. So we're always searching and looking to get that same feeling, even if it's a negative feeling. And I'll give you this example, because when I was younger, I was addicted to chaos. I didn't realize that until recently, that I was addicted to chaos. And the reason why I was addicted to chaos was because I didn't know how to fix things on my own. And I was always hoping someone will come to my rescue. And in order for you to feel victimized, in order for you to literally expect someone to come and rescue you, there has to be chaos, right? That happens on superhero movies, the comic books, or anything like that. There's always chaos, and there's always that one person that will show up, or that superhero that will rescue you. But then, in my 30s, I learned how to do it on my own, with my wife's help, of course. But so whenever you feel like you need to catch up on the news, try watching something that makes you happy instead. Eventually, you might forget about the bad news and get hooked on what makes you happy. You get hooked on good shows that make you laugh, that make you forget about the stress from work, the stress of life. You know, it just gives you that 1 hour or 30 minutes to just relax and literally change the tune in your brain from being all like, oh, I gotta fight, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, to I can relax. Release some dopamine, right? And just one more thing, because this used to happen to me. Don't worry though. You won't be completely cut off from the world. Once you learn to ignore all the unnecessary noise, you'll be able to choose which news you want to follow and which ones you don't. This way, you have more free time to read the interesting stuff more carefully and relax while working on yourself, which is important, because if you're able to read the interesting stuff more carefully, like for example politics, sports, or whatever, you're not going to get caught up in the emotion of whatever you're reading. You're gonna literally analyze it, and if you feel, for example, a politician is lying, you can actually research what that person is saying, and then you can come up with your own solutions or with your own information. Be like, this dude is lying to me. And that's also a part of working on yourself, because now you're training yourself to not believe everything you read, to not believe everything you hear, which honestly, that's exactly what we need right now. Don't you think? Well, that's it for today. That's pretty much what I wanted to talk on today's episode. I think this is very important to learn this, to learn to tune out the noise, to just literally enjoy yourself, not get caught up on the emotions of anything that's going on around you. And again, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. And remember to keep an open mind and engage in respectful discussions in the comments below. Remember to share, like, and subscribe, and hit that notification button to stay tuned for more content. And here are my final thoughts. Start planning your days. So you can say to yourself, I did what I said I was going to do today, and have a great day.